So I've owned a Tesla Model 3 for the last year and a half now. I bought it in 2023, and I thought it was the best electric car that you could buy at the time. And at the time, that might have been true, but it's 2025 now, and a lot of other competitors have entered the market very, very nicely, just like this Cadillac right here with the Cadillac LYRIQ Sport 3. This is the only 2025 model, and let's go ahead and see what pros and cons you have between this car and a Tesla. Before we get this video started, I want to say a big thank you to Cadillac for sending out this media sample for the LYRIQ Sport. It was on super short notice, and I'm really surprised they were able to clutch it up like this, so big thank you to Cadillac again, and expect more Cadillac videos in the future because this brand has a lot of work for improvement, but I'm really surprised at where they are today. Now let's start with the hood. Now you might expect there to be a lot of storage up here considering this is an electric car, but let's go ahead and check that out with this hood latch that we have down here. And this is what you're greeted with. Looks like an engine, right? It's definitely not. Very strange, because considering this car is so massive, you would expect there to be such a deep cavity to put like suitcases and carry-ons and such, but there's literally no room here. What's really funny is that this is a full-on 12-volt battery from, you know, a regular car, not like an EV, like where you get a lithium-ion battery from like a Tesla. It's a full-on battery, which is really interesting to see. I don't know if it's a GM thing, but it's kind of strange. This whole hood is very strange, but honestly, you got enough space in the trunk, you should be fine in storage. Now, with the hood out of the way, let's go ahead and check out the trunk of this thing, because you got a lot of space considering this is more so than a mid-size SUV. You've got a lot of room back here. Now, I say mid-size, but this thing is actually very long and wide, so it's more so mid-size when you sit inside of the car. It feels like a mid-size SUV, but let's go ahead and see what's in the trunk here. And as you would expect, it's not a latch right here. Of course, it's Cadillac, so you have the button that opens the trunk. There we go. So as you can see back here, we have tons of cargo space. We have a duffel bag and a MacBook for scale. We have plenty of room down here in the sub trunk. And these seats, of course, do fold down to give you some more storage if you want to go skiing and such. But unfortunately, there's no ski pass-through, which is pretty common on SUVs, but would be kind of nice to see on something like this. And while we're back here, let's talk about this awesome lighting, because this car looks stunning with this amazing like dot matrix LED design on the back with this amazing flowing line on the side. It looks a lot better than what you would expect out of a Tesla, and honestly, I really appreciate Cadillac for kind of going out of the norm for something like this. And on the front of the LYRIQ, it looks amazing with this LED lit badge and the LED striping on the front of the grille pattern, which makes it look a lot better than something like the Tesla Model 3 or Y, where it's kind of more so flat and boring. And of course, just in case you forgot you owned a Cadillac, there's also another Cadillac badge on the inside of the dash. Don't know why that's there, but just in case you forgot, you're driving a Cadillac. Now, before we go on the inside of the 25 LYRIQ, let me show you guys this amazing metallic paint. I believe this is called pearl white metallic with the black roof accent. This car looks stunning. I mean, it looks amazing, this colorway. I wouldn't choose a different one besides maybe black, but this car looks great. And the one big change between the first gen LYRIQ and this LYRIQ is that this LYRIQ has functioning door handles. The previous one actually had capacitive door handles where you'd press it and it would open up your door. This one, you tug on it like an old-fashioned door handle, and it works. I think it's time to finally show you guys the interior of the 2025 Cadillac LYRIQ Sport 3, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. Wait, I think I forgot something. Ah, there it is. That's what I was missing. Dude, this snow looks amazing next to this colorway. Like, just take a look at that. That is a car. Now, because this is a car, we need to check out the interior, so let's go ahead and see what's in the back seats. Now, this is actually my first time in the back of the LYRIQ, and honestly, my first impressions are really good. I mean, these seats are super cushy. You have these heated seats as well as your own climate control in the back, as well as two USB-C ports and one 110 outlet right next to it. It looks like there's also no cigarette outlet in the back either, so if you want to smoke in the back of your Cadillac LYRIQ, you're out of luck. You also get a few of the nice AKG speakers built into the door, as well as a lock and unlock button for the rear seat passengers, and of course the auto window switch. And to top it off, you get this really nice metal door handle that actually feels super premium in this car. And you of course get two full-size cup holders under the armrest. Now that's enough yapping about the back seats, even though they are very, very nice, but your reason why you're here is for the front seat experience. So to start off with the seat controls, you actually have both heated and ventilated seats, as well as an option to only heat the backrests of the seats. So if you don't want your tush getting warm, you have that option. You might also see this little dial here and wonder what it does, and it's actually the massage button. So if you want to control the massage feature in the seats, which might I mention aren't really the best, but they do work, then you can do so by adjusting this small dial and enabling roll, which is the only mode for massage at this time. Now, if I'm gonna be realistic, this massage setting kind of more so feels like somebody moving the lumbar support up and down, so it's not really like a true massage, but it's still better than nothing. And while we're looking at the screen, let's go ahead and talk about the specs, because this screen is massive. It's a full, uninterrupted 33-inch LED display, not OLED like some other car reviewers have said. It actually is just standard LED. Now, that being said, the display quality is actually really nice, and the UI is super fluid, so you're not gonna really be experiencing any sort of lag at all. And you also have this dial down here to control the UI. So you have this button that pulls up navigation, as well as a really nice metal volume knob that also doubles as a mute/pause button when you press it in. Now, this is a 2025 LYRIQ, so it does have CarPlay and Android Auto support. However, 2026 is actually removing this entirely and switching over to Android Automotive, which in my opinion isn't really the best move by Cadillac or GM, because having CarPlay and Android Automotive at the same time is actually really convenient. So hopefully they change that decision in the future, but as of now, you're stuck with Android Automotive on both screens the second you get to that 2026 model year. Now, thankfully, a lot of the climate controls are still on the bottom here. They remain physical buttons, which is actually really nice, because I don't have to dig through menus to actually get my climate to work. And for all the less toggled settings, you have them all up here, and you have the glove box release that opens the glove box, of course. You have the dome lights, which turn on all the dome lights. You can enable the camera to see around you, which I will say, this camera is a very nice setup. I mean, you can see myself move the tires back and forth when I steer the car, which is really nice, especially if you want to protect your rims from getting them curved. And this also applies for the back wheels as well. Now, if you want to charge your phone in the LYRIQ, you can actually throw your phone into this wireless charging slot right here, and believe it or not, this is actually passively cooled, which is actually a really smart move by GM, considering if you own a Tesla and you know how the wireless charging performs, it's not good, and that's because it's not passively cooled. So when you have your phone charging right here in a Tesla, your phone typically overheats on a hot summer day within the first 15 or so minutes, which then leads it to just not charging at all. So this is a very smart implementation by GM. Now let's talk about the driving style of the Cadillac LYRIQ. Now keep in mind, this is the Sport 3 trim, so your experience may vary depending on which trim you end up getting. Now, if you want to change your driving style, you actually have a few modes right here. You have Tour, which is kind of more of a luxurious feel. You have Sport, which of course is a more sporty feel. Then down here you have Snow and Ice and My Mode. Now, My Mode basically lets you configure certain things your way and make it your own driving mode, which is really nice to see. Now, I'm going to currently use Snow and Ice because, as you might be able to tell, there's quite a bit of snow and ice. But I will say, after using sport mode for the last 3 or so days now, this car performs a lot better than I would expect any Cadillac to perform, especially if it's on a V-Series. Now, if you're worried about traction, this car is equipped with an all-wheel drive system, so you don't have to worry about sliding around. At least I haven't had to worry about that, because driving in the mountains has been an absolute joy with this car. Now, range-wise, you do get around 307 miles of total range on the all-wheel drive model, which is actually fairly decent. And what's really nice about this car is that your mileage on here is actually accurate, unlike Tesla. So if this car says it has 66 miles of range, you actually are gonna get 66 miles of range. I mean, of course, depending on how you drive it, but realistically, if you're driving it like a normal person, you are getting 66 miles of real-world range. Now, if you want to use Super Cruise in your Cadillac LYRIQ, all you gotta do is press this steering wheel button on an approved highway or freeway, which, as you might be able to tell, if you're driving in the mountains, you don't really have too many pre-mapped Super Cruise routes. However, if you're in a more suburban area, honestly, most freeways are going to be mapped for you. Now, of course, driving this car feels like an absolute dream. I mean, after all, it is a Cadillac, so you do get a super cushy ride. Now, what's interesting is that this car isn't even using air suspension. It's actually using standard coils and shocks. But even without air suspension, this car still feels amazing. You don't have that overly buoyant ride, however, it's not overly harsh as well, even when you're rocking these massive 22-inch rims. Now, while we're outside of the LYRIQ, let me show you guys one complaint that I do have, and that is the charge door, because this charge door feels super flimsy. I mean, it's basically plastic. And then you also have this weird gas cap looking thing to cover up the fast DC charging port, which is a little weird, and honestly, there's really no place to put this, so it's kind of just hanging out. So here is the final question. Would I trade my Tesla for a Cadillac LYRIQ? Maybe. Honestly, I'd really consider it. If I was a person with a Model Y that needed to commute back and forth long distances, I would grab this in a heartbeat. Now, I think I would personally wait for NACS to arrive to the Cadillac LYRIQ in 2026 or 2027, but this is a really good start, and I'm really happy with the direction Cadillac is going in because this thing looks super promising. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and if you liked what you saw, please hit the subscribe button because more content like this is coming in the very, very near future. So with that being said, I'm NTFTW signing off. See you guys.